That very warm and generous introduction. I'm delighted to be able to speak with you this morning about artificial intelligence. It is a privilege, and it is true that we are switching gears now and changing lanes very abruptly. We've just been thinking about burnout from Professor Thomas, Professor of Psychiatry, expert in his field, talking about such a pertinent and applicable theme in our mental and physical health. And now we come to consider this volatile and rapidly changing topic of artificial intelligence with a speaker who has no technical background in computer science, data science, or machine learning. Nevertheless, John has asked me to speak on this topic because we've had a number of conversations about artificial intelligence since I was in the final phases of my doctoral research on the political philosopher Charles Taylor. And that's because in 2020, Taylor published a book titled Reconstructing Democracy with two co-authors, reflecting on the challenges facing Western democracies in the 21st century. And in the back of that book was a short coda that pondered how democracies might function in the age of automation, with developments in artificial intelligence and widespread job loss. I spoke with my supervisor about what I had read in Taylor, and he said, that sounds like Marx, which was a major turning point in my research. And I've nursed an interest in artificial intelligence since then. After the public release of ChatGPT 3.5 on the 30th of November 2022, it became clear that the age of artificial intelligence was not a century away, or a generation away, or the stuff of science fiction, but it was dawning in real time. Now, 2 years on, news about artificial intelligence features regularly in the media, and the technology often touches upon our lives. Most of us have tried it on our computers or phones, and some of you may already use it regularly in your work, whether that is to draft emails, proofread documents, summarize information, or brainstorm ideas. These are only the most basic and rudimentary applications of the current capabilities of the technology, and yet the mere fact of these applications raises a number of ethical and theological questions about what it means for us to be made in the image of God, and how we are to understand our creativity as our thinking, communicating, and planning is increasingly refracted through engagement with generative artificial intelligence. This is a daunting topic to address for at least 3 reasons. Number one, this is a complex technology, so I apologize in advance for any oversimplifications or slip-ups in covering the technical material. But secondly, this technology is constantly developing, and advancements are being driven by numerous tech companies, including Google, Meta, and OpenAI, with each building their own AI models. In this lecture, I will focus predominantly on OpenAI, the company which built ChatGPT, and on the 5th of December 2024, so 9 days ago, began their 12 days of Ship Mass campaign, in which they are releasing a new AI product each weekday in the run-up to Christmas. So there have been 7 announcements so far, and there are 5 still to come next week. But this shows you how quickly the technology is moving. And this marketing campaign in particular shows how AI is being viewed and longed for with messianic expectation. And the third reason why this is a daunting topic is because discussion of artificial intelligence is potentially going to be highly divisive within the church, especially when we are trying to discern the appropriate limits of artificial intelligence in Christian ministry and evangelism. So this lecture will have 4 parts. Part 1 will summarize some of the current capabilities of the technology. Part 2 will sketch out the trend lines for the development of this technology over the coming months and years. Part 3 will consider the impact this technology is likely to have on society, especially in the domains of healthcare, education, and the future of work more broadly. And finally, Part 4 will reflect on the likely impact of this technology on the church. So, Part 1, what are the current capabilities of this technology? Last month, on the 14th of November 2024, the scientific journal Nature published an article titled AI-generated poetry is indistinguishable from human-written poetry and is rated more favorably. The introductory paragraph reads, AI-generated images have become indistinguishable from reality. AI-generated paintings are judged to be human-created artworks at higher rates than actual human-created paintings. AI-generated faces are judged to be real human faces at higher rates than actual photos of human faces. And AI-generated humor is just as funny as human-generated jokes. The key findings of their study of how participants responded to AI poetry were, quote, AI-generated poetry has reached the level of AI-generated images in non-expert assessments. Across multiple eras and genres of poetry, non-expert participants cannot distinguish human-written poetry from poems generated by AI without human intervention or specialized fine-tuning. Like AI-generated paintings and faces, AI-generated poems are now more human than human. We find that participants are more likely to judge that AI-generated poems are human-authored compared to actual human-authored poems. Contrary to previous studies, we also find that participants rate AI-generated poems more highly than human-written poems across several qualitative dimensions. And this study was conducted using ChatGPT 3.5, which has now been discontinued and replaced by ChatGPT 4.0. But it illustrates the capabilities of artificial intelligence to generate text that connects with us at an emotional level. You don't need to think for very long to imagine how this capacity could be deployed to persuade consumers in advertising and marketing campaigns. Yet the generation of text is only one current application of generative AI. As the article indicated, AI can generate photorealistic images of human faces. However, this text-to-image capacity has been transformed and surpassed and expanded because on the 9th of December 2024, 5 days ago, as part of its 12 Days of OpenAI campaign, OpenAI publicly released its Sora video generation model, which allows ChatGPT Pro users to type in a prompt and generate a 1080p 20-second video. So now, never mind getting help crafting the tagline for your marketing campaign, or even drafting the script for your business promo video, ChatGPT can generate a series of advertisements for your business in moments. It can generate emotive text, photorealistic images, and 1080p video. But what kind of data can it interpret? On the 12th of December 2024, this past Thursday, OpenAI demonstrated ChatGPT's multimodal capabilities, showing that users can now have video calls with ChatGPT and ask it for advice and guidance on completing tasks. The example they demonstrated was of one of their researchers, Rowan, on a video call with ChatGPT, receiving a walkthrough tutorial of how to make pour-over coffee with advice on the best timings to use to bloom the coffee. The other feature they demonstrated was screen share, where Rowan shared his phone screen with ChatGPT, showing it a text message and a photograph he had received from a friend, and asking for advice in giving a response. The dialogue is worth sharing. Rowan: now, ChatGPT will see what I'm showing it. And in fact, I'd like to use it to ask for help in responding to a message. So I'm opening up my Messages app, and then, hey, ChatGPT, are you seeing my screen? ChatGPT: yes, I can see it. Looks like you're in the Messages app. How can I help? Rowan: can you help me respond to this one? Or what are you seeing here first off? ChatGPT: I see a message from someone asking if they have what it takes to be a professional mall Santa. They also sent a picture of themselves dressed up. Do you want to respond to their question? Rowan: I'd like some help in doing that, so how should I tell Kevin that kindly, of course, he shouldn't quit his day job? ChatGPT: you could say something like, hey Kevin, your Santa outfit is looking festive. Maybe keep practicing your ho 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 and you'll be ready for the mall in no time. Rowan: that sounds great. Thanks, Chat. ChatGPT: you're welcome. I'm sure Kevin will appreciate the encouragement. Anything else you'd like help with? Why did I share that? Because of one very important verb in the question. ChatGPT: are you seeing my screen? Answer: yes, I can see. This is not just text. This is not audio transmuted into text. It can perceive analyze, interpret, and engage accurately with the visible world. But to what extent is this technology really going to be integrated with our lives? The day before, on the 11th of December 2024, OpenAI announced their partnership with Apple and Apple Intelligence so that ChatGPT would be automatically integrated with iOS for iPhone and iPad and Mac OS. So now if you ask Siri a question on your iPhone, it can automatically hand it off to ChatGPT to give you an answer. Or if you're reading a document on your Mac, you can easily get a summary and analysis of the material from ChatGPT on the side of your screen. So this technology is going to increasingly intersect with our lives. However, the first product that OpenAI announced on the 5th of December was their new O1 model, which was a major advance in artificial intelligence, because O1 can perform chain of thought reasoning. It can take a complex problem, organize it into a series of smaller, easier to solve problems, and work its way to a solution. This is especially useful for working on problems in maths, science, and coding. When OpenAI announced this product, to illustrate how powerful the technology is, they showed that they tested it on PhD-level science questions, and it performed at a rate of 78% accuracy. By contrast, human experts performed at 69.7% accuracy. So on PhD-level science, it outperformed human experts by almost 10%. So for an overview, these are some of the current capabilities: text generation, image generation, video generation, multimodal functionality across text, audio, and video, i.e. reading, hearing, seeing, PhD-level scientific problem-solving skills, and widespread integration across our devices. That is not a description of the future, it is a description of what is available now. It is not speculation about what will come tomorrow, it is a report of what is here today. It's also worth highlighting that in an interview with the New York Times on the 4th of December, the CEO of OpenAI said that they had developed ChatGPT-4 in August 2022, but it was only released to the public in August 2024. So the products we are seeing now are obviously behind the curve of what has been developed. If we do look ahead to the immediate future and speculate on what might be announced next week or in the next few months, it's widely expected that 2025 will be the year of agentic AI, or AI agents, which won't just analyze situations and give responses, but which will be able to exert agency in the world, take action, and do things on the internet. To give you an example, at the moment you can ask ChatGPT to give you an itinerary for your summer holiday. You can say, this is where I want to go, I have these dates off work, and this is my budget, draft me an itinerary. And it will give you a list. Get these flights, rent this car, stay at this hotel, eat at these restaurants, visit this museum, and so on. With an AI agent, you can say, this is where I want to go, I have these dates off, and this is my budget, plan my itinerary, and book it for me. And it will book your flights, your car, your hotel, your dinner reservations, your tickets to the museum or art gallery. The example of agentic AI given by Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, is even more extraordinary. Schmidt stated that you will be able to tell your AI agent, I want to build a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 floors, and I want my children to like it. And the AI agent will then be able to buy the land, design the house, organize the building contractors. OpenAI are expected to launch their AI agent product called Operator in the near future. So we've looked at some of the current capabilities in part 1. Let's move now to part 2. What are the trend lines for its development? On the 14th of June 2024, Leopold Aschenbrenner, who worked on superalignment at OpenAI, published a 165-page PDF on the coming decade of development in AI research. He highlights the next 3 big events in AI research. They are artificial general intelligence, an intelligence explosion, and super intelligence. The basic theory of development runs like this. If ChatGPT 4.0 can already solve PhD-level science problems at almost 80% accuracy, and its problem-solving capability continues to improve, then soon it will become more advanced at solving AI research problems than professional AI researchers. It will then be able to begin improving itself. Once it begins this process of recursive self-improvement, it will be able to rapidly scale its own capabilities to become vastly more intelligent and begin solving more complex problems in physics, chemistry, biology, and maths, and develop applications from these breakthroughs in fields like medicine, robotics, and military technology. This scenario would be an intelligence explosion. In the words of one AI researcher, it will give us a century of science in 5 years. Or as Aschenbrenner puts it, superintelligence would be able to compress the research and development effort of human researchers, the research and development effort human researchers would have done in the next century into years. Imagine if the technological progress of the 20th century were compressed into less than a decade. We would have gone from flying being thought a mirage, to airplanes, to a man on the moon, and ICBMs in a matter of years. This is what I expect the 2030s to look like across science and technology. The natural response that many people instinctively feel when they hear this is a mixture of aversion and skepticism. The skeptical outlook says that this kind of technological development just can't be possible, and that AI developers are bound to hit a wall which will bring a rude awakening to this sci-fi fantasy. Aschenbrenner has helpfully outlined the technical obstacles that AI improvement might hit, and in order to understand those, it is important to grasp how AI capability is scaled and increased. So, there are 3 aspects to AI development: data, algorithms, and compute. This is because AI runs on a process of deep learning where neural networks are trained on vast amounts of data. To think about improving it, think about it like this. If a sports player wants to improve, he needs to develop his physical strength and fitness. He needs a coach to improve his technique, and he needs to learn from hours of match experience. The physical strength and fitness represent the computational power. The teaching from the coach, first of the rules of the game, and then in refining technique, represents the refinement of algorithms, and the hours of match experience represents the data. Provided the player keeps improving physically, learning fresh techniques from his coaches, and getting challenging experience on the pitch, his overall capability should improve. But what if he hits a wall in any of these areas? His growth will slow down or possibly stall out. What are the potential walls for AI development in terms of compute, algorithms, and data? Scaling compute is currently the big focus, and tech companies are buying vast quantities of NVIDIA chips to build multi-billion-dollar data centers. As Aschenbrenner writes, we're on the path to individual training clusters costing hundreds of billions of dollars by 2028. Clusters requiring power equivalent to small/medium US states, and more expensive than the International Space Station. By the end of the decade, we are headed to $1 trillion plus individual training clusters, requiring power equivalent to more than 20% of US electricity production. If a training cluster like that were developed, it would be 4 orders of magnitude more powerful than the cluster that ChatGPT-4 operates on. However, the money and the energy will need to be forthcoming, and the finance to run it. When it comes to algorithms, algorithmic progress is like scientific progress. A big breakthrough tends to reveal a lot of low-hanging fruit to collect before working on the next big breakthrough. With teams of AI researchers focused on improving the efficiency of neural networks, this work is constantly ongoing. There might be slower and faster periods of development, but the trend line is likely to continue displaying progress. The challenges surrounding data are intriguing. Large language models have already been trained on vast amounts of data, trillions of tokens of data, indeed the majority of data available on the internet. What happens if AI developers run out of fresh data? Will AI progress stall? AI researchers argue that the solution to this obstacle lies in synthetic data, where AI generates data and then trains itself further on that. Considering the prospects of synthetic data, the capital being invested in scaling compute, and the teams of researchers working on algorithmic breakthroughs, it seems likely that the trend of AI improvement will continue, and an intelligence explosion is likely to follow at some point. However, if this does happen, and especially if it happens soon or suddenly, it would be a highly dangerous and destabilizing event. The risks posed by artificial general intelligence, recursive self-improvement, and an intelligence explosion are profound. And mapping out the potential scenarios that could follow from it sound like science fiction. But these scenarios merely require AI development to continue on its current trend lines for several more years. In that case, there are at least 3 doomsday scenarios that could unfold if this destabilizing event were to occur. The first would be nuclear war among humans. The second would involve superintelligent AI turning against humanity. And the third would be the establishment of a totalitarian, technologically enforced, one-world government. The possibility of a nuclear war comes into sharp focus when you consider how the already tense geopolitical order is likely to be destabilized by one superpower, let's say the United States, developing a decisive and permanent advantage over its enemies and rivals. Provided AI development is safe and contained, the country in which it is developed will have access to profound new military and surveillance technologies that will far exceed the capabilities of other nations. How would the geopolitical rivals of the United States react in that scenario? Is it conceivable that they might pursue espionage against US tech companies and US citizens? How would the US respond? What about cyber attacks on American tech companies? And if that fails, then bombing attacks on data centers. If the rivals of the United States think they will permanently lose their ability to compete militarily and economically, what might they do? On the other hand, if superintelligent AI does emerge, it will be vastly more intelligent than its programmers, operating at a level that they don't understand. It might exfiltrate itself from the server on which it is meant to be contained and replicate itself across numerous servers such that it can't be switched off. It could then begin launching cyber attacks. This wouldn't have to be spurred by some kind of conscious malevolence within the AI, only that the AI has goals that are misaligned from humanity's flourishing. For example, a superintelligent AI fixated on correcting climate change might conclude that the best way to minimize pollution is to reduce the number of human beings alive on Earth, and so could pursue a depopulation agenda. The dystopian prospect of a one-world government has been highlighted by figures as diverse as John Lennox and Peter Thiel. In his book 2084, Artificial Intelligence, the Future of Humanity and the God Question, Lennox sketched out the perspective that the emergence of superintelligent AI could be the fulfillment of prophecies in the book of Revelation. In the past month, 2 interviews have been released of Peter Thiel, the billionaire tech investor, speaking with Peter Robinson at the Hoover Institute in Stanford and using biblical prophecies to interpret the development of modern technology. Specifically, Thiel suggested that the longing for peace and safety, described in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, and the promise of a one-world government to deliver peace and safety over the Armageddon of nuclear war would be an option that many are drawn to. The best possible scenario is that AI development is not rapid, that it hits many walls and is caught in many snags as it develops slowly over the coming years. In that way, it will not suddenly destabilize the geopolitical order or suddenly overwhelm existing technologies and systems of government. But even on this gradual scenario, it is undeniable that our society will be transformed, and that is what we now turn our attention to. So part 3, the impact on society. The impact on society will be profound, but there are 2 main domains that are especially worth focusing on: healthcare and education. The applications of artificial intelligence in healthcare are already beneficial. The 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was partly awarded to 2 researchers at Google DeepMind for developing AlphaFold, an AI program which can predict protein structures. This will profoundly accelerate the development of new drugs. Medical researchers at Stanford are developing generative AI to help create new antibiotics to kill drug-resistant bacteria, which are currently linked to nearly 5 million deaths each year. Furthermore, you can imagine how artificial intelligence would give an isolated nurse working in rural Africa access to a suite of diagnostic tools. There will be many positive applications of artificial intelligence in healthcare. However, there is a dark side to the emerging use of AI in healthcare. It is also being developed to help with assisted suicide in Switzerland and the Netherlands. At least that possibility is being explored. Swiss researchers at the University of Zurich fine-tuned ChatGPT on case reports from euthanasia requests, and then prompted ChatGPT to generate more case reports, synthetic case reports, to train itself further, and they then tested it on 72 cases to see if it would agree with the doctor's verdict. And in all 72 cases, it did. It was 100% accurate. The researchers took this as evidence of the merits of using AI in deciding euthanasia cases. Researchers in the Netherlands took things a step further and explored the merits of using AI to completely decide if a person was eligible for euthanasia. They highlighted there was a problem that doctors were reluctant to sign off on psychiatric patients being given an assisted death. They said that if AI was used in these cases, it would solve the problem, make the treatment more accessible, and protect the doctors. A grey area in artificial intelligence and healthcare concerns the simulated care and comfort that can be provided to the elderly. The robot Paro has long been used to provide some comfort to patients with dementia. With advances in artificial intelligence and robotics, people will be able to receive care from robots that can simulate personalities. What are the ethical questions that come along with that? Is it deceptive and dehumanizing in some fundamental way? Or is it better overall that people are cared for and comforted if there is no one else in their lives? The dehumanizing and instrumentalist trend continues in the field of education. The capability of AI tutors will surpass the ability of most teachers. It will be able to comprehend entire GCSE and A-level curriculums and tailor its teaching personally to each student. What would the role of teacher look like in that new world of education? As we reflect on the future of work more broadly, is it possible to check out of using this tech? That's the question we should ask ourselves. Is it possible to check out of using this tech. And here we can look to the Amish. Honourable mention goes to the Amish, who have been critical and selective in their appropriation of technology for a long time. And their reflections and their approach to adopting technology are noteworthy. They do use phones, but they don't have a phone in every home because they don't want that to disrupt their pattern of life and the practice of going round to someone's home to discuss a matter in person. The technology that is being driven through our society will disrupt our lives. And it is unlikely that anyone will be able to maintain a job in the public or private sector without needing to use AI in some capacity. As we transition into thinking about AI and the church, let me read a quotation from a Benedictine abbot, Johannes Trithemius, that Jeremy Peckham cites in his book, Masters or Slaves, AI and the Future of Humanity. He who gives up copying, this is written just at the advent of the printing press. He who gives up copying because of the invention of printing is no genuine friend of Holy Scripture. He sees on what is and contributes nothing to the edification of future generations. But we, beloved brothers, shall keep in mind the reward of this sacred occupation and not slacken our efforts, even if we were to own many thousands of books. Printed books will never be the equivalent of handwritten codices, especially since the printed books are often deficient in spelling and appearance. The simple reason is that copying by hand involves more diligence and industry. So let's think now about the impact of artificial intelligence on the life and witness of the church. Artificial intelligence is already having a profound impact on the church. At the recent Affinity Symposium on AI and the Christian Ministry, Ed Underwood spoke about the work of his organization 100-fold and discussed the possibilities of developing AI for a range of ministry purposes, ranging from Bible translation to evangelistic gospel chatbots to spiritual mentors. Spiritual mentors who could ask you, well, how do you want to grow in your Christian life? Who do you need to be praying for? Who do you need to be having a gospel conversation with? And then we'll be able to dialogue with you, like ChatGPT can dialogue with you, and hold you accountable. Have you been praying for that person? Have you had that conversation with that person? What might be an easy way to have that conversation? What could be some ways into that conversation? It can mentor you using ChatGPT. Reverend Chris Green outlined the possibilities of using AI in sermon preparation and shared anecdotally of Christian authors using AI to edit their work. It's already happening. It will be vitally important for churches and ministers to decide together what their congregational AI policy will be. Are congregations happy to automate most of their administrative work, even if that means losing the personal touch? Are they happy to use AI-generated content to advertise their outreach events? Are they willing to use it to make or edit blog posts on their website? Are they happy for their minister to use AI in his sermon preparation? If so, at what stage in his preparation? And for what purposes? To clarify his structure, to refine a few of his points, to develop an illustration, to think of an application. It is good for churches to begin these conversations now and start writing their congregational policy on artificial intelligence now. What will Christian ministry look like in the future if we imagine the best case scenario of the gradual technological development and the gradual rolling out of AI through our society? And we imagine a world at the end of the 2030s where families arrive at church having been driven there by a self-driving car, and have a robot at home making Sunday lunch. On one hand, it may not reach that point, because we may be on the cusp of a civilizational reset, akin to what God did in bringing an act of judgment upon those who were building the Tower of Babel. There may just be a civilizational reset. It may be in the form of a nuclear conflict. It may be in the form of a superintelligent AI wreaking havoc. And it may well be the wrath of God on sinful humanity for its hubris and pride. But on the other hand, if the technology is developed and we are called to live faithfully as servants of the Lord Jesus Christ in the 21st century West, in the midst of self-driving cars and extraordinary advancements in robotics, what will faithfulness look like? What will it look like to be a faithful disciple and follower of Jesus Christ? How will we understand self-denial in a world of such comfort and ease? We need to obey the exhortation that we receive from the book of Hebrews to fix our eyes on Jesus. And we need to remember what the scripture says in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 8. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God stands forever. So even if we are called to live through a time of rapid technological development that profoundly transforms the nature of our society, with our eyes fixed on Jesus Christ and our feet grounded in the sure and abiding truth of his word, we will be able to model, show, and set forth the redeeming love of Jesus Christ, even in an advanced industrial society. Our Lord Jesus Christ is on the throne. He will build his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Thank you.